Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. We'll talk about INEC chairman's bold moves to save PDP. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have Jeremy Vazum, the master himself, Babajide Kolade Otoju. Good to see you, Bikil.
Good to do this with you, Ibrahim.
Let me start off by congratulating you on your resumption, I would say, of the leadership of the newsroom. It's been a long time, and then you've actually played very significant role, not just in TVC News, but TVC Communications as a whole. BKO, on behalf of our audience and the rest of the team, we say congratulations to you, BKO.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you. It's an opportunity for us to reclaim our past. As you know, I started the channel, I was the inaugural head of channel, started the channel without a budget. Today, TVC News is the reigning NMMA award winner. It's not the first time. We won it for the first time in 2018, just 4 years after the channel was born. So we've come a long way. We are confident that we will be able to make positive changes to happen. We are in our natural habitat. We are in familiar surroundings.
Absolutely, absolutely. Congratulations once again, BKO, and we wish you best of luck in this new endeavor. Now let's get on to brass tacks. Nigeria's downstream fuel market has entered uncharted waters. You know, the Dangote refinery, petroleum refinery, built to end the country's dependence on imported petrol and slash import bills, is now in direct conflict with fuel importers and regulators. So, despite domestic refining beginning in earnest, import licenses are still being issued, prices are volatile, and the legal battles have unfolded in court and in the courts of public opinion. Can you help us unpack what is driving this clash, BK?
Well, this is a big battle for survival. It's a big battle for market domination. Is a desire on the part of the players to gain a significant foothold. Remember, there were years when none of the Nigerian refineries was working. During that time, some individuals approached the banks and set up tank farms, and they began to bring in products. You have them all over the place: Sahara oil, Matrix, Pinnacle, so many of them. Shafa, even Rano. You know, they are big players today. They came into the industry to ensure availability of products. With Dangote refinery coming on stream with an installed capacity of 650,000 barrels a day, it is clear that we do not need to import as much as we used to. It is clear that local refining is beginning to do well. I think that when we look at everything put together, those guys who had tank farms, who had been bringing in products. They want to remain in the business. Dangote, who has such a gigantic refining facility, believes that unbridled importation of petroleum products will make it difficult for his refinery to survive because he needs to sell to Nigerians. And if cheaper fuel, some of them not of high quality, is brought into the country and people buy them, Dangote refinery will eventually be sidestepped, and that will make life unbearable for Dangote himself. So for this reason, Dangote went to court, I think sometime last year, to try to stop the regulator from issuing fresh licenses. His attitude is that, look, I can produce in ample quantity. I can produce much more than Nigeria needs, and we even have some more to export. Why this dependence on, why this massive importation of petroleum products when local refining can actually deal with the situation? As far as the marketers are concerned, they do not trust Dangote sufficiently. And they point to his arbitrary increase in prices in a manner that undercuts them, in a manner that puts their survival even in danger. So this is a real battle for survival between both sets of people, the marketers and Dangote. The regulator has refused, despite pressure from Dangote, to stop issuing licenses. And some of these marketers are telling us, although we do not have sufficient evidence that what they are telling us is correct, they are saying that if not for them, in the last 6 to 9 months, it would have been difficult for us to meet our domestic needs. So importation is meant to bridge the gap created even as a result of local refining. Importation is meant to bridge that gap. If it is true that Dangote, as at the moment, is not producing enough to meet our domestic needs, then the argument for continued importation, even if it's on a low scale, would be plausible. What I found really, really strange is the extent to which we are still importing. And importing at such a gargantuan level has all kinds of ramifications. Our foreign exchange, our scarce foreign exchange, is still going into importation of something that we can do here. Why I will not support a total ban on importation of petroleum products, given our desire to support the Dangote refinery, which will help us to even give employment to people. Big manufacturing companies are big-time employers of labor, and for that reason, they need to be supported. If big companies wind up, unemployment, the rate of unemployment will give up. Just look at the number of people that Dangote is employing. Look at the number of people that Bua is employing. Look at the number of people that Chief Foods are employing. All these big manufacturing concerns are helping us to provide jobs. They are helping us to help us to ensure that we do not help in reflating the economy of other countries. Because every time you import on such a large you are helping the economies of other countries to grow. But I think that the Dangote believe that is a critical sector, like the petroleum sector is allowed to be dominated by him, we will all be in trouble. Now, the marketers are saying, look, we want your refinery to survive. We are not against your refinery, but you are guilty of arbitrary price changes that, in their view, is meant to kill the competition and harm marketers. In fact, its recent reduction in price to the tune of about 129 naira per liter is believed to have caused devastating financial losses to marketers who recently purchased product in bulk. Some of them bought up to 20,000 metric tons, and before they could sell 1 liter, prices were slashed, leading to losses to the tune of billions of naira. They are arguing that even in a deregulated environment, if price must change, the other stakeholders need to be informed, and that so that a sudden change does not hurt marketers. They want a consideration for existing inventory purchased at different rates. Otherwise, people will continue to struggle. And we've seen people like the Jide even accusing Dangote of leveraging on his influence to get the president to support him and remove Farouk from office. They do not believe that Farouk and the NU PRC boss, Benga Komalafe, left on their own. They believe that they were forced out. Many also point to the government's proposal some months back to increase, to levy 15%, to impose a 15% levy on imported petrol. The regulator opposed the idea, and the president eventually agreed to not impose that levy. As far as people are concerned, if that levy had been imposed, not less than the petrol will sell at above 1,000 naira per liter, thereby worsening inflation and transportation costs. And to those who are opposed to Dangote, fuel availability has been guaranteed by the fact that we are still important. So they believe that Dangote is out to create the kind of monopoly that he created in the cement sector. And look at what, just listen to what Adeyanju said. This is not a moral crusade. It is about market control and monopoly. The federal governments must resist economic blackmail and uphold state authority. This is all about monopolistic dominance. I do not know whether it is true. I'm still going to ask some of my friends who work with Dangote whether it is true that if importation had not been allowed to happen, we will have faced significant fuel shortages in the last 6 months. I know that especially in the Yuletide, the demand usually goes sky high for Jet A1, for petroleum products generally. The demand is usually high in the month of December. What I do not know at this time is whether some of those figures can be relied upon. Dangote insists that he has the capacity to produce all that we need if he's backed. But these marketers are saying, no, that is not true. It does not produce enough to take care of our domestic consumption. So this battle, as I've said earlier, remember Otedola said that, Otedola, who is a very close friend to Dangote, said, those who own tank farms should sell those tank farms as scraps. Well, a lot of them have bills to pay. A lot of them took loans from the banks. So I believe that it will take a while before we ease those people out of the market. And at that, and with more refineries, modular refineries coming on stream, BUA coming on stream, BUA is going to be doing about 250,000 barrels per day. Is significant. And if we are able to get our refineries working, the Nigerian government-owned refineries working, we will have enough products to the point that no one can dominate the market and determine prices. But as things stand, this is how these people feel. They believe that Dangote wants to control the retail side of the business. He wants to control depot services. He wants to control refining. He wants to control everything that has to do with the business. And to them, that will send them out of business. So this is what this is all about. And I was listening to the new NMDPRA boss being screened by the Senate, and he said we need to help our local refiners to survive, but that if there are gaps to fill, then there will be a need to bring in petroleum products from outside our country. But if there is no significant gap to fill, we must do our best to help people who have invested in refining to keep their businesses going. And Dangote has to be commended for daring to go into that business. Many people collected licenses to build refineries. They couldn't muster the courage to build refineries. So he has to be commended for taking that big risk. He's a man who is used to taking risk. But at the same time, I think that government needs to intervene in this scuffle between Dangote and the marketers.
Absolutely. Oh, let me take some comments before I ask my last question, or rather, I mean, the next question on this topic. Adebayo Olatunji says, so after all these years of importing fuel, one man builds a refinery and suddenly everybody remembers free markets. Nigeria is not a serious country. Zainab Musa says, Dangote is not a cent, but let's be honest, fuel importation has been one big cash cow for some people. The shouting now is fear, not patriotism. Emeka Okore says, if Dangote refinery is working, why are we still importing fuel? Somebody is lying, and Nigerians are the ones paying for it at the pump. Hadiza Lawal says, NMDPRA should explain clearly. You can't say local supply is enough and still issue import licenses. This thing smells like dirty oil, literally. And Kunle Adeyemi says, I support competition, but not monopoly. Dangote should not replace government failure with private monopoly. We need balance. And let me quickly pull this question. If you look at against the backdrop of the oil sector tensions and mounting public pressure, President Bola Tinubu changed the leadership at the downstream regulator, which you alluded to. That's Farouk and the other name, I've forgotten the name, exiting the scene. From a policy and governance perspective, is this a corrective reform aimed at restoring credibility or a tactical move to calm a system already under strain?
I think that first and foremost, the president felt that, look, he needed to do something, especially given the messy situation that we found ourselves. Dangote came up with an allegation of corruption leveled against Mr. Farouk, who headed the NMDPRA. So my belief is that he was told to resign because he also didn't offer any defense. He don't try to defend himself. Even what we read earlier and deemed to be his response, he said no, that it did not emanate from him. So if you cannot defend yourself against a very serious allegation made by someone like Dangote, then you have to leave the scene. So my feeling is that Gbenga Komolafe had not done anything wrong, but if the president had removed an Hausa man, an Hausa Fulani man, and left a Yoruba man who is also a regulator for the upstream, many people will start complaining that, oh, he fired an Hausa Fulani man and left his own brother. So Mr. President just told both of them to leave. You know? Yeah. So, and I believe that some of the mistakes made is an opportunity for those mistakes to be corrected. Everyone knows, for example, that NMDPRA that was talking about um, Dangote refinery producing substandard diesel some time ago, they cannot point at their own testing facility, their own laboratory. And I heard the new man saying that they are going to invest in that. So that means petroleum products coming into our country. The question is who checks to determine whether they are good enough, they are fit for our vehicle users to buy. So this is an opportunity for them to work on the mistakes made by Farouk, but a regulator, in my view, has to have independence, has to be permitted to take the big decisions, has to be free from political interference of any sort. And for someone like Farouk, who worked in the US, who worked in the United Kingdom, no one should be surprised that he stood up to a business giant like Dangote, you know, until the very end.
That's right. That's right. Interesting stuff. This person is saying, congratulations. What's his name? Lefty says, good evening, Ibrahim, and congratulations, BKO. Country must implement protectionist policy. Paul Lay Osan says, we can only know the true position of things only if we have an impartial regulator. I suggest that the regulator should objectively assess the capacity of Dangote to meet the domestic consumption. Abayomi Ola Yoriju says, I think those who collected license to provide refineries are unable to do this. The licenses ought to be withdrawn. All right, let's change tack by looking at the next topic for discussion today is the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, which used to be Nigeria's dominant political force, is now mired in a fractious leadership crisis. At the center of this turbulence is INEC, traditionally a neutral arbiter of elections, which has found itself unwittingly thrust into a political drama involving rival PDP factions, court orders, and questions about the integrity of the party processes? BKO, does INEC risk being seen as a savior rather than a regulator?
I think that this INEC
Um, Hello, BKO. I think we're having connectivity issue with BKO. Let's see how fast this network is going to be restored. BKO, we lost you. We lost your
Ibrahim,
at the beginning of your analysis on INEC. You said you thought that INEC was what? This
yes,
INEC rather.
can you hear me, Ibrahim?
Yeah, very well now. Very well now.
Yes, okay. The point that I'm making is this INEC chairman wants to be different. I think he is eager and determined to see the PDP compete in the general election of 2027. Previous INEC chairmen would never have been bothered about what is going on. They will wait for the courts to decide, and they will take action based on the decision of the court. When the appeal court takes a decision, they will abide by it. If that decision is overruled by the Supreme Court, they will also take action. But what this INEC chairman on his part is just trying to straighten the polity. He believes that this issue can be resolved even without a resort to the courts. I mean, let's face it, if the combatants will agree to come together, do some power sharing, this whole conflict can come to an end even in one day. I still believe that the PDP shouldn't have had that conference in Ibadan. And remember, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, the former Senate president who was given the mandate of uh, resolving the crisis within the party, suggested that what the party needed was a kind of caretaker committee. He didn't think that it made sense to go ahead with that convention. But the governor of Oyo State and the governor of Bauchi State, they felt that, look, even after the federal high court had stopped the convention, they felt they could procure an order from a state high court. And what did they do? Rather than try to make peace, they took very hard decisions to expel some party members. What would the PDP have lost if they allowed someone like Sule Lamido to be part of the contest? Nothing. What would they have lost if they simply obeyed the order of the Federal High Court? If they simply listened to Bukola Saraki, who was of the view that the timing was not good enough because they had not succeeded in reconciling some of those people aggrieved with the party. The question then is, what would the judgment that was procured, what would they achieve with it in the final analysis? The Ibadan judge has already said that he lacks jurisdiction to order INEC to do anything. So it means that that, court order that they procured amounts to a waste of time. It means that they are not going to achieve anything with it. So what is the point? Ultimately, the courts may set aside the exercise in Ibadan. I can understand why this INEC chairman thinks that it's best to find a way to solve this problem. Time is of essence. By June, political parties, based on the Electoral Act 2022, political parties are expected to have elected their candidates for the 2027 elections. You can go to court, but you do not know when the court will decide on your matter. What if the court decides on your matter when it is too late? Look at the matter of Fubara that went to court. They went to court to try and decide whether the president was right to have declared a state of emergency. You and I know when the judgment of the court eventually came. So if it should happen in this case, if judgment is not handed down on this matter, because we also know that it will get to the Supreme Court, PDPs risk not being able to produce candidates for the oncoming election. And the INEC chairman doesn't want people to blame INEC unduly. That's the reason he stepped in. So what he's doing is trying to position the PDP to be able to field candidates for those elections. And what he has done is towing the path of peace, and is commendable. I only hope that the PDP leadership and the combatants will agree to come together and make the party be in a strong position to be able to contest those elections, rather than risking not being able to field candidates. Because as I said, we are in December. Primaries are looming. We may think that is such a long time, but the middle of next year is not a long time. I'm talking about 6 months. What if those cases are not decided within 6 months? So PDP will be in trouble. Will be in a big trouble. So that's why the INEC chairman is trying to save the party from itself. He's trying to help them to come together and achieve peace. This was a very noble effort on the part of the INEC chairman, and I support him absolutely. Whether Wike and his camp and Makede and his camp will be able to come together is something that none of us can predict. But it makes sense for them to come together, because you have to do your best to put the party in position to contest next election. The convention that expelled Wike, for example, I can tell you the way it's going, the courts may render it a nullity, and then they will start afresh.
But BKO, there is a perception that only by stepping into this PDP crisis, INEC is setting a precedent for future electoral bodies to manage party politics rather than elections. What do you consider the long-term implications if this becomes normalized?
Well, we must see what the INEC chairman was trying to do. He's just trying to make peace. He's just trying to make peace. And he's just trying to draw the attention to the possibility, the negative possibilities. And I've talked about the negative possibilities earlier. They may not be able to take part in elections if they can't present candidates before the deadline. And the deadline looms as we speak. It is not such a long time. Whoever thinks it's a long time does not know what he's saying. It's not such a long time anymore. At least if the election will be governed by the Electoral Act 2022. Another thing you must consider, Ibrahim, is it is even possible that the elections will happen in November. You know, there's already a school of thought that believes that we need to do our elections earlier, so that litigations can be concluded before the swearing in. So if elections happen this year, and I will not rule out the possibility, it's maybe the National Assembly will be warm to the idea. I won't rule out that possibility. If elections were to take place this year, you know that it makes life even more difficult for the PDP, because they are running out of time now to resolve their dispute and be able to field candidates. So who knows? The elections may actually happen in November, so that litigation can be concluded before a president is sworn in, before a governor is sworn in. And then people will not say, oh, this is an illegitimate president or this is an illegitimate governor, because the issue of whether he was duly elected or is qualified to be governor or president had not been decided by the courts before he was sworn in. So I don't know how strong the National Assembly will approach this. I don't know how fiercely they will approach that issue. If they approach it with urgency, then we may be thinking about elections taking place before the end of this year. And you and I know that they expect that they will have at least 6 months, they will have candidates will have emerged and all that. So it's risky what is going on. It's risky for the PDP. But the INEC chairman wants this issue decided so that they do not blame the party and they do not blame the electoral umpire for any for the disqualification of the party if it happens.
That's right. That's right. Chukwu Dieze says INEC trying to save PDP is like a referee trying to coach a team that forgot how to play football. And Fatima Abdullahi says INEC should face elections, not party quarrels. PDP's problem is PDP, not INEC. Yemi Ogunleye says if opposition collapses, democracy suffers. People mocking PDP today may cry tomorrow. Aisha Bida says, how did PDP go from ruling Nigeria to fighting over signatures and court orders? This is painful to watch. Shegun Aluko says, INEC is walking on a dangerous line. Once you interfere too much, tomorrow another party will accuse you of bias. Uche Onwuka says, every PDP crisis always ends in courts. Judges should just open a PDP department already. Okay. This person is saying, Promise John says, Babajide, big congratulations to you. Luminous, okay, good evening, Mr. Ibrahim. And Pelumi Babalola, how can I reach out to Babajide Otutoju? I have some information to share with him. Okay, he will respond to that. Lefty says, I don't think INEC should dabble in intra-party problems. they risk being tainted as a meddlesome interloper with bias by any side that feels shortchanged at the end of it all. And last that I'll take here is Nelson Adufe saying that is it the duty of the INEC chairman to help party make decisions concerning their party? His acts may lead to being blackmailed of playing pranks in PDP internal wrangling. Okay, so BKO, I don't know, as you answer Pelumi's question on how to reach you, he or she says he has information for you, so the channel to reach out to you. And as you answer that, looking back, political parties in Nigeria have weathered crisis before.
So send my number to him. Send my number to him.
I do not have. I don't know how to reach them directly anyway because it's a YouTube comment. So I think you probably have to reach out to me on
let him send his own number.
Instagram.
So when he sends his number, you can then send to him.
Okay, so I will type my, as you're listening to me, Pelumi, I will type my Instagram handle there, so you can reach out to me via DM. The same name, you can reach out via LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. So you send a DM, then I will send BKO's number to you so that you can reach out to him. All right, so BKO, final question for you is, looking back, political parties in Nigeria have weathered crisis before, from SDP splits to ANPP mergers. How do you think this crisis compared to those historical movements? That's the PDP crisis. And what do you think PDP can learn from the past?
I don't know how willing that political party is to learn. I don't know how willing. Remember, this is not the first time they're having this kind of problem. Oh, who is the legitimate leader of our party? They had this problem before. And invariably, it was decided in favor of Makarfi, former governor of Kaduna State. You know, he had to lead the party, you know. So PDP have a history of destroying itself from within. So they've got to realize that the party will not make progress when everyone is pulling in different directions. They must learn to sing from the same hymn book. That's how the party can grow. It's unfortunate that the division in the party has made many people to leave the party because they are not sure they'll be able to realize their political ambitions within that political party. So they are looking elsewhere. Even founding fathers of the party are living in droves. If they had come together to resolve their issues, this would not have happened. Yes, some people will still have defected, you know, but it wouldn't be as bad as this. The reason is this bad is because many politicians think that if this matter was not addressed, they won't have a platform on which to contest. So that is the thing. And as I've said earlier, we are in December. Time is running out for them to have this matter resolved. They may think that, oh, the courts will rule on this matter quickly. But you cannot bet on that. You can go to court, but you cannot determine when your matter will be resolved, when your case will be decided. That is left to the courts. There have been examples, so many examples that I can give. Former governor of Plateau State went to court over the emergency rule imposed on his state. The matter was not decided until he came back from emergency rule. It also happened to Fubara. So, hoping that the courts will resolve their matter quickly is foolhardy, because you cannot dictate to them when to give these judgments. And if the judgment comes after you should have produce candidates for the oncoming elections, then too bad for the party. Too bad. They must learn to resolve their differences without necessarily going to court. And as we have seen, going to court does not guarantee that you will make progress even on that matter.
That's right. Well, let me take two more comments and we'll call it a wrap. Rashid Sadiq says, INEC is not saving PDP. INEC is protecting the process. Big difference. Kemi Adebola says, the real issue is leadership failure. You can't outsource unity to INEC. And Ismail Danjuma says, imagine APC in crisis. Would INEC do this much? That's why people are suspicious. Well, but this is supposed to be INEC helping the opposition to resolve parties. I mean, resolve differences. If it were the APC, I think people would rather think otherwise, that they have been biased because the INEC boss was appointed by the incumbent party's president, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, then, BKO, that's about it for the program. That's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Tutoji, for those insightful analyses as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. I say a big thank you to our esteemed viewers. Thank you for supporting us through the years. We promise to continue to give our best.
All right, and thanks to you, to our audience, for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. And for the person who wants to reach out to BKO via my DM, send a DM to me at Ibrahim_Shita. Ibrahim spelled with IBRAHEEM. IBRAHEEM_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.